So after explaining the difference between automatic bidding and manual bidding, I want to touch a little bit more on manual bidding so you really understand it fully, because this is really the science and the foundation of, first of all, of scaling and of very successful Facebook ads, okay? And for one reason. The whole purpose of manual bidding, why we do manual bidding, what's the real reason manual bidding is so powerful? One thing, budget control, okay? Budget control, that's the reason, the main reason that manual bidding is so powerful. And that's the reason you're going to use manual bidding. That's the reason we use manual bidding, for budget control. So if I wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you what's manual bidding, you tell me budget control. Okay? Now, what exactly do I mean by that? I touched a bit on it in the last video, but I want to go a bit more into it now. So basically, when you're actually going and you're doing manual bidding, right, you're assigning a certain bid. Okay? You're assigning a certain bid on a certain conversion. Now, when you're doing it when you're doing automatic, then you're not assigning any bid. You're just sending out the ad. When you want to scale, when you want your ad to reach more people, you increase the budget, right? But you can't increase it fast. You have to increase it slowly. Okay? And when suddenly Facebook starts to work badly, you decrease the budget because the ad isn't making you money. But with manual bidding, that's not the case. You can't have bad ads, okay? Now, not 100% of the time, but you usually can't have a bad ad when you're doing manual bidding. Why is that? Because what happens with manual bidding is you give Facebook a bid, okay? You tell Facebook how much to spend on a certain conversion. So if you want to get purchases, you tell Facebook, I don't want you to find any purchases below $10. Facebook will not spend your money if it does not find you purchases underneath that price. An automatic bid, it will spend it. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So when you're going automatic bid, okay, let's say you go automatic bid, auto, right? And you do a $200 budget, okay? You go automatic with $200 budget. Now, if you want to, suddenly that works good, right? And you want to scale that. What do? You increase it slowly, right? You increase it from 200 to 220, slowly more 240 every 24 hours. It's working good. Then it starts working badly. Then you see that it starts to lose money. The conversions weren't as good as it used to be because that's how an ad works. Eventually it starts to not work as good. So then you have to start decreasing it. Okay, so decreasing it because the purchases, your cost per purchase is suddenly high. That's what happens with automatic bidding because it will usually spend all the money 100% of the time. It looks at that $200, it will spend that. If it gets you $10 per purchase or if it gets you $30 per purchase, it doesn't care. Okay, it will try to get you the cheapest conversions, but it doesn't care if it doesn't find it. Because eventually, at the beginning, it might be $10 per purchase, and then slowly it gets more expensive, $13 per purchase, $18 per purchase, right? And then that's when you have to decrease it. And sometimes it fluctuates, sometimes it fucks up with the ad, and usually you don't even go this high with automatic bidding. Usually, I know people don't go above $50 with manual bidding or even $100. So then suddenly $100 works good, they want to scale, they have to increase that slowly. Or they have to duplicate that, and then they're overlapping, and it's just like a big mess. But when you're testing, sure, automatic bidding is great, $10, $20. Now, why is manual bidding so amazing? Okay. Because with manual bidding, you can basically assign, okay, a very, very, very high budget, okay, a very high budget, okay. I'm talking here about $10,000 ad set, okay. But let's not take that for example. Let's take the just a very high budget, a $1,000 ad set. That's a budget that we basically send out all our ad sets on this number, $1,000 budget, okay. So you tell it $1,000 budget. That's daily budget. You say, I don't want you to find me purchases for more than $10. Okay, so let's go. We have a bid. Now, we know our bid because we tested our ad first. Okay, so when we send out a manual bid, a very high manual bid, We always do that after we have a very high. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We send out a scaled ad, a very high budget ad, a very high budget manual bid ad after we've seen success with our test ads. Our test ads are $10 to $20 ads that we begin with. Okay, $10 to $20 is the ads that we usually start with. And then if it works, we scale it $1,000. Now, of course, there's much more to this. There's manual and desktop and then like neglected audience demographics, but we'll get to that in a second. So we have so let's say we're releasing a $1,000 manual bid. This is the budget, okay, the $1,000, it's a daily budget, and the bid is $10. Okay, we're optimizing on purchases. Now, what actually happens here is that Facebook will look for conversions underneath $10. Okay, we'll try to find any purchases that go below $10, and if it finds it, it will basically charge me. Okay, kind of, because what happened is that we're still paying for impressions, but it won't spend money if it does not find converters underneath $10. So I released this ad. Okay, and now $10. I decided on this, like I said, because that was the bid that I found that was the cost per purchase on my test ads. So I sent that out, and all of a sudden, okay, next day, the ad is spending. That spent $300, okay, and the cost per purchase was around $9, okay. $300 is it's spent, even though the budget is $1,000, it's spent only $300, okay, because like I said, when you're doing manual bid, if it does not find you purchases underneath $10, it won't spend money. So in this case, it spent $300 with $9 cost per purchase. Okay, so it found like 33 or over 30 purchases, right? Now I can be satisfied with that and just leave it like that. Okay, sometimes it won't be 9, sometimes it might be 11, maybe 12. It might go a bit over your bid, okay? Not by a ton, but it might go over your bid most of the times. So $300, that's what it spent on, and the cost per purchase was $9, okay? Now I have two decisions. I can either increase the bid, okay? If I increase the bid, the amount that Facebook will spend will increase. So let's say I go ahead. Okay, remember the bid now is $10. It spent $300 and I've spent $9 per purchase. Let's say I don't mind spending a bit more per purchase, okay? Because if I keep it like that, Facebook won't spend more than around $300. Of course, it's different from day to day. Sometimes it might spend $150, sometimes it might spend $400, as long as it doesn't find anything over $10 or too much over $10. So let's say I'm not satisfied with this number, okay, and I don't mind spending more money to get more purchases. So what happens is that let's say I increase this budget to if I increase this bid to $12, what happens? So the next day, it might spend $450, and the cost per purchase might be around $13, okay? You understand? The more you increase the budget, the more Facebook will spend, and usually the more expensive the cost per action will be. Now, if the $300 spent and $9 cost per purchase, I wasn't satisfied with that. Okay, let's go back to there for a second. Let's say I was not satisfied with this, with the $300 budget and the $9 bid. Let's say this was unsatisfying for me and this is too expensive. I will decrease the bid. Remember, the bid on this was $10. I will decrease the bid from $10 to $8, right? Wait another day. And then the next day, suddenly, the ad spends only $200, but the cost per purchase was $7.50. Okay? You see what's going on here? The more I increase the bid, the more the Facebook spends, the more expensive my cost per action is. The more I decrease the bid, the less Facebook spends, the more cheaper my conversions are. Now I don't need to touch the budget. That's what's so beautiful here. I don't need to touch the budget, okay? Because $1,000, I'm giving it the threshold basically. I'm telling it, look, you have $1,000. This is your money. This is the bid. If I'm bidding on $8 and Facebook decides to spend all of the $1,000, then I'll be happy because I'll get cheap conversions, right? That usually won't happen though, because that's the reason we give it a very, very big budget. Sometimes with tens of millions, we'll give the budget $10,000 and not the $1,000. Okay, that's the beauty of manual bidding. No changing of the budgets, no re-optimization, no should I decrease the budget, should I increase the budget? You just play with the bids. And the most amazing thing here, okay, and this is why I'm so excited about it, the most amazing thing is that when the ad starts to become less good, okay, when the ad starts to be saturated, when the ad starts to decline, it's not that you'll pay more per conversion because you're still having the bid. You're still telling Facebook not to spend your money. So when the ad goes on a decline, it will just spend less money. You understand? So let's just say that eventually we found our sweet spot, $8 bid, okay, and the days go by, and every day it's spending around $200, okay? Every day it's spending around $200. The cost per purchase is around $750, okay? And the days go by. Some days it's going to be $170. Some days it's going to be $230. Some days it's going to be cost per purchase $850. Some days it's going to be cost per purchase $650. The days go by, and eventually the ad declines. So what usually happens when an ad declines? Cost per purchase goes up, right? Cost per action goes up because you're still giving it the same money. But with manual bid, you're still limiting it. So what will happen is that you won't notice an increase in cost per action. The only thing you'll notice is a decrease in the budget. Okay, so then it will start to spend less money because it finds less purchases, and it will start to spend less money, right? 150, 100, until it completely stops to spend money. Okay, and that's a good thing because you didn't throw any money to the garbage. You still limited Facebook with the bid. So that's basically the beauty of manual bidding. Okay, I hope that made sense. So to recap, okay, manual bidding is budget control. Okay, budget control is manual bidding. When you set a manual bid, you don't have to touch anything else other than the bid. Increasing the bid will make Facebook spend more and make your cost per action go up. Decreasing the bid will make Facebook spend less and your cost per action will go down. This is how you basically you'll get to a point where you're satisfied, right? Because sometimes you won't mind spending more money per action, so Facebook can spend more, right? So if you have a $1,000 manual bid and Facebook is spending $300 and your cost per purchase is $5, okay? Maybe you don't mind paying $6 per purchase if Facebook will spend $500, right? Because you want to make money faster. Or if $5 per purchase is too expensive for you, you need Facebook to spend less. So you just decrease the bid. Okay? Increasing the bid increases the cost per action, increasing the budget that Facebook spends. Decreasing the bid decreases the cost per action, decreasing as well how much Facebook spends. Okay? Those two go together. When the ad starts to go in a decline, your cost per action will not go up. The only thing that will happen is that Facebook will just start to spend less money. So you'll make less money, but you won't lose money, right? You know what I mean? Because you'll still pay the same amount for your actions. But Facebook will have a problem finding those cost per actions. So what will happen is that you'll notice Facebook will just start to spend less and less money. That's really that's basically a manual bidding. And that's how we basically scale to very, very high numbers, and I'm going to get to that as well in the next video. But yeah, that's manual bidding, and you should use manual bidding every time you go above a $30 budget, $40 budget, because underneath that, under that $30 and under that $40, it's still okay to go automatic because you don't really need to control too much, right? But with higher budgets, 100 plus, it's important to start controlling. Now, another thing that I need to touch on is basically it's important that you know what to manual bid on. Okay, I talked a lot about purchase here, but that's not entirely true that you manual bid on purchase, because we don't manual bid on purchase. Okay, because you need to manual bid on a conversion that happens enough times so you can see the data change, so you can basically optimize on that. Okay, so another thing to remember is that even though we always like to just put high budgets, sometimes you don't have to put a high budget, okay, on the ad. Like, you don't have to put thousands of dollars on the ad set. But the minimum, okay, if you want to do manual bidding, the minimum that you have to put on the ad set is your budget. The daily budget has to be at least your cost per action of your test ad times 100, okay? So look at your test ad. Okay, test ad, anything from $10 to $20, right? Look at your test ad, how much you're paying per action there. And when you scale, make sure that that new budget, that new ad has a daily budget of a minimum of that CPA times 100. So if you're optimizing for purchases, right? And you're paying $7 per purchase, and you're okay with that. You're okay with $7 per purchase. Take that $7 times 100, $700, right? So that's going to be your daily budget, okay? It doesn't mean you're going to spend $700 a day. It's just enough to give Facebook threshold to, if it wants to spend that money, it can, because you're going to limit it with the bid, okay? So that's important. Other than that, you will always, okay, when you're bidding, you'll always pick the bid. Either you take the cost per action and you add $2 to it, or you start from the bottom and increase it. Okay, I'm gonna actually touch on that a bit more in the next video, so I won't go into too much depth now. Next video I'll talk about that. Now, so budget CPA times 100, that's a minimum. Okay, that's a minimum. So if you're paying $1 per lead, then have at least $100 budget on the new ad, right? The more the better, because sometimes if you're scaling to tens of millions of audiences, sometimes even like a 1,000 daily budget ad is not enough. Like, you can make more money. You can put $5,000 on that. So that's why this is a minimum, okay? Now, the most important thing here is that it works the same as like any other thing that you do in terms of conversion optimization. We're still optimizing on an action that we want to happen, and the more that action happens, the easier it is to optimize. And another important thing is that you have to have at least 100 conversions a day on the action that you're converting on the big ad, because below that you won't be able to optimize and change the bids accordingly. Because eventually you want to be able to work on it on an hourly basis. So if the bid is too high, you want to decrease it, and then you want to see results in the next few hours. And you won't be able to see the results in the next few hours if if the conversion doesn't happen enough times. So 100 times an hour, 100 times a day is 4 times an hour, right? Which is a minimum. You want to have much more than 4 an hour, but that's a minimum. But by you seeing at least 4 conversions in an hour, you can know what's going on. You can see the differences in what's happening, right? You can see how much you're paying per that conversion, if it's purchase or if it's add to cart or if it's link clicks, whatever. Now, that's the reason, by the way, we like to optimize on conversions like add to cart, because it's easier to basically optimize faster, because adds to cart happen really, really fast, right? They happen a lot more faster than purchases. And this way, when we change the bid of the add to cart, we can already see the results, and we can already see like what's going on an hour after, 2 hours after. With purchases, if we don't have like dozens of purchases a day, dozens of purchases an hour, then it's going to be really hard to notice what's going on. But again, this is for you to experiment, and it depends. Again, this is like what I said before, where you're optimizing for an action that you want to happen. So adds to cart, eventually it leads to a purchase, right? But if 10 adds to cart, only one of them is a purchase, that means that your adds to cart are shit. So optimizing for adds to cart won't really give you probably good results. But if your adds to cart is only like triple the amount of purchases, then you should be good, because 33% of the ads to cart are a purchase. So by you bidding on that, by you optimizing on that, you should get really good traffic, and you should make make good amount of sales. So it really depends on what's going on with your conversions and how it goes. That's why sometimes we even do link clicks. We optimize for link clicks. Why do I optimize for link clicks? Because on certain stores, our conversion rates are anywhere from 5 to 8%. So if our conversion rates are anywhere from 5 to 8%, even optimizing for link clicks gives us pretty good traffic. And by it giving us pretty good traffic, because 8% is 8 out of 100 people buy, that means that if we get a lot of people, if we get a lot of traffic, we'll have a lot of sales. But if our conversion rates were 1%, then optimizing for link clicks would probably give us pretty bad results. Because eventually link clicks is something that happens sometimes hundreds of times an hour. So changing the bids on that, you can see changes literally on an hourly basis. You can see you change the bid, and then an hour later you already have like 100 clicks, right? So very fast you can already know what's going on. That's why it's important to know that. Now I know I know it's complex, and you might not fully understand what I'm talking about. And it's okay, by the way, not to fully understand what I'm talking about, because anyway, I'll be going over like a blueprint on how to really do a scale, or how to really use manual bidding step by step. But it was important for me to cover this so you kind of get an understanding of how it works. But in a nutshell, okay, the most important thing is the budget on your manual bidding ads has to be a minimum of 100 times your CPA of your test ad. So if you're paying $1.50 on your test ads, then what is going to be your manual bidding budget? It's going to be 150, right? Because 1.5 times 100 is 150. A minimum. Okay, if you want to scale more, then you'll probably want to put more on that. But that's a bare minimum, just so you can work with manual bidding correctly. And have at least 100 conversions a day on that in the new ads, right? So like I said, you don't know until you release it, but potentially, if you think about it, think if you can get that amount of conversions a day. And yeah, that's basically it. Another thing, just remember, optimize on the conversion that you have enough data on. Of course, we're still going to like old sayings where don't optimize on conversion that you don't have a lot of data on. Sometimes the add to cart will work better, sometimes a purchase will work better. In a nutshell, remember, if a $20 add to cart works, scale that, okay, to whatever your cost per add to cart is, then do that. If a $20 purchase ad works, do the same, right? We always scale only what's working for us. We don't just decide to scale something without testing it first. And that's it. In the next video, I'm going to go over lookalike audiences. So see you there.